The DC multiverse is crumbling all around our heroes, and at apocalyptic moments like this, beings from the greater Omniverse will have to take notice. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Dark Knight, Death Metal, The Rise of a New God, issue number 1, and find out. Alrighty then, so as we join this special one-shot, the Darkest Knight is once again still using the amazing crisis power he absorbed from the Mobius chair to reorder the universe. We actually get some fun little snapshots of characters we don't see that often just to really try and sell how serious this is, like Rip Hunter at the Vanishing Point or Etrigan in the Forces of Heaven and Hell. Of course, the Darkest Knight will have some competition when it comes with trying to recreate the multiverse in his image, and that is his old boss, Perpetua. You remember Perpetua, don't you? Mother of the universe. Mother to the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and World Forger, basically the de facto villain of Snyder's whole Justice League run that this event spins out of. Yeah, I know, she hasn't been doing much recently, has she? Though ultimately she will get something to do this issue as these two massive cosmic titans battle for supremacy. In fact, this battle is so big with such massive ripple effects it ends up actually catching the eye of the Source, in particular one of their agents of the Omniverse, a guy called the Chronicler. Essentially, this guy's calling his great cosmic duty is to write down all the information he can about a universe or multiverse before it's eventually destroyed, and it certainly seems like the DC universe is heading in that direction. The Chronicler's first port of call is actually, get this, the Psycho Pirate. Yeah, remember him, everyone? Wasn't he really important with his ability to remember everything that happened in the DC universe, even the multiple crises? Remember when his mask was actually important to the whole Dr. Manhattan, the Button Doomsday Clock storyline? Yeah, me neither. The Chronicler literally drains this guy of all his information, but it doesn't make him happier. Quite the opposite. The Chronicler is really frustrated with the entire history of this multiverse and how poorly it's kept. Oh my god, I just got it. The Chronicler is someone new trying to get into DC comic books, but who is ultimately scared away by the weight of all this continuity and all the different crises. Actually, scared away isn't probably the right word. In fact, the Chronicler wants to push himself even further now to understand the madness that is the DC universe, and for that, his next port of call is Vril Drox. Remember him, everybody? Son of Brainiac? He was a big focal point of that Justice League No Justice storyline that actually kicked off Snyder's run on Justice League and a whole new era for the DC universe, and then he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. Vril actually tries to make a bargain with the Chronicler by giving him all the information that Brainiac had managed to amass in his time, in hopes that if the Chronicler gets the information he needs, Vril Drox will actually be allowed to leave this crumbling multiverse and head on into the greater Omniverse. Though, ultimately, this plan backfires for a couple reasons. For one, the Chronicler is just doing his day job. He can't actually cut deals for the greater Source. And secondly, he hates the idea that Vril Drox thinks that he and his universe are so special that they deserve to be saved. After all, this guy's been doing this job for a very long time and has seen the rise and fall of many different multiverses, but admittedly none so colorful and interesting as the DC universe, filled with heroes and villains, colorful costumes, modern-day fairy tales. Yet, despite all this wonder, for one reason or another, the DC universe always seems to be on the brink of utter annihilation for one reason or another. The Chronicler has all this information, but what he truly lacks is context, and because of that, he decides to resurrect Metron. After all, Metron has happily observed the DC universe since more or less the beginning. He's watched it all. Oh my god, is Metron an old fan? Is Metron a comic book YouTuber like me who exists to give context on these stories? The answer, surprisingly, is yeah, kind of. Metron gives a very impassioned speech about why the DC universe is a wonderful, beautiful thing and deserves to survive. In fact, he literally starts kicking some Neil Gaiman level stuff about the power of story and belief, and how it's because regular people believed in gods like the new gods that they existed, and because they existed, they needed to have an antithesis in Darkseid, but how the universe always provided just enough good to always be able to defeat the evil. That is, of course, except until right now when the forces of Perpetua and the Darkest Knight seem so much stronger and so much more all-encompassing than ever before. But wait, the story is always changing and growing and advancing and evolving, and perhaps if the Chronicler is here right now, it's because he has a role to play in the story. And perhaps if he can actually sit down and absorb all this DC continuity, then maybe that will change his heart and mind and make him actually want to get involved and save the DC universe. And believe it or not, it's right there where the comic comes to a close. And so that was Dark Knight's Death Metal Rise of the New God issue number 1, and I think it's a perfect encapsulation of the two major extremes that are going on in the greater death metal story. Mainly, you got the not taking it too seriously comedy romps that actually made me enjoy the story, and then you have the much more serious but also much more metatextual looks at comic books and stories and crises. And this one definitely falls in the latter, where we really do have a character who is outside looking in on the greater DC universe and desperately trying to understand it all. That's a clever concept, and I wonder how much it's actually going to matter to the greater death metal story as a whole, which, again, when I stop and think about it, has been going on for so long now, and will be going to January, and we still don't even really totally know what the death metal in death metal means. I hope it all ultimately amounts to something meaningful and fulfilling, because right now it honestly just feels like everyone's kind of running in place and throwing everything they can at the wall to see what sticks, which is admittedly entertaining in its own way. I will say that I like this one a lot more than the Robin King story from last week. It was definitely a lot more creative and a lot more engaging, and if nothing else, Metron is back to life now, so that's certainly something we can point to this story and say that it did actually matter. Overall, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again, thanking you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, why not check out my Amazon link down in the description. Yes, that's right, the Cape Joel channel officially has its own Amazon storefront now. You can pick up a comic or anything else for that matter, and if you did, you'd really be helping me in the channel. So with that out of the way everyone, I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.